disease is the #1 killer worldwide. And it's caused by diabetes, high blood pressure, stress, overeating, eating the wrong kinds of food, not exercising. There's a whole bunch of contributing factors to heart disease. For example, 32% of Americans right now are overweight or obese. Childhood obesity in this country is at an all-time high.
Now, another fact you say, most heart attacks occur in people with no symptoms and whose arteries are less than 50% blocked.
That's correct. Oftentimes people can have a heart attack, and it's not just cholesterol. Some people who have had a heart attack and people who haven't had a heart attack, they can have exactly the same cholesterol, because it's not the number. You know, your overall cholesterol is supposed to be 200 and below, but it's not the number. What it is there are two different types of cholesterol cells running through your body. There are large ones and there's small ones. If you have more small ones than you have large ones, then you're prone to having blockage, because the small ones get embedded in the cell wall, build up and build up. The large ones come along and slice the top off. The top goes like that, and you've got a dam, it's blocked. So you need to have a full blood workup, and the doctor can then tell from that whether you have the ratio of large cholesterol cells as opposed to small cholesterol cells. So if you have more small ones than large ones, they can do stuff with that. They can treat that with drugs. So that's why it's important to get checked out. It's not just the number. Don't just look at the number and say, yeah, I'm fine, I've got great cholesterol. You know, and then next week you get a heart attack. I'm not trying to scare you, but that's what could happen.
Now, Bruce, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't believe me that this happened 3 weeks ago to Bruce, it's a triple bypass, right? They take veins from your arm, where that scar is,
my arm.
3 weeks old.
They took a vein from my leg here, and then there's a vein that goes to the pectoral muscle here, which isn't really necessary, so they redirected it. And so that was the triple bypass. But I had 90% blockage, and I'm 58 years old.
But you've had a great time for 58 years, haven't you?
I had a great time. I had a great time. Yeah.
But it's funny, isn't it? I hear this all the time because I'm a little overweight and I need to do something about it.
Gav could miss a couple of meals.
I could miss a couple of meals. I can have smaller meals at night time, and that's what I'm going to do, because Bruce has been my mate for many, many years, and I'm changing my lifestyle. How much have you changed your lifestyle since the triple bypass surgery?
Well, the thing with me is that I don't really need to change my lifestyle that much, because I had already begun to change my lifestyle before this even happened. Because I did a survey online through my health insurance provider, and the results of that survey told me that I was at high risk for heart attack, stroke, or diabetes. So I thought, oh, I better do something about this. So I started going to the gym and working out. I started eating better. I'm a chef, so I cook for myself 95% of the time. I stopped eating takeout. I was still drinking. I gave up smoking 7 years ago as well. I used to smoke heavily since the age of 15. And so, you know, I started doing things. I was still drinking a bottle of wine every night, but it was red wine.
So that's supposed to be good for you, but it's
supposed to be good for you.
But it's only supposed to be one glass, isn't it, or 2 glasses?
2 glasses at the most. A serving of alcohol per night is fine, and a serving of alcohol is 1 or 2 5-ounce glasses of red or white wine, 1 12-ounce beer, or 1 shot of vodka, whiskey, whatever you want. Just 1 shot, that's it. Red wine and white wine both have the same chemical in them that is good for your blood flow. Red wine has more of it, because when they make red wine, they not only use the pulp of the fruit, but they also use the skin. And the skin has the most of that chemical, so there's more of that in red wine than there is in white. Both contain, you know, the same chemical. The name of it escapes me right now, that helps with blood flow and antioxidants and that kind of stuff.
So now, Bruce, that you've cheated death 3 weeks ago, and Nancy, his wife, I know, was
Nurse Ratchet over here.
Nurse Nancy on the video.
Nurse Ratchet
was very worried about her husband, as you would be. I feel now that you've got a message to tell people. It's a wake-up for you, but now I know Bruce. He's on a mission and he wants to re-educate people. Is that true?
Yeah, I want to re-educate people, but I also want, I mean, it doesn't start, you know, well, the point I was trying to make is that I had already started to change my life, but it was too little too late. I'd already abused my body, you know, for long enough. It's not what you do now. It's the stuff you did back in your late teens, early 20s, when we all think we're immortal and we're not going to die. We can do whatever we want. That's the stuff that comes back to bite you in the butt when you're 50 and 60.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah, you are. But see, that's what happens. I mean, I had a very small melanoma taken off my nose a couple of years ago, and I said to the dermatologist, I said, I don't go out in the sun. I don't sunbathe. Yeah, but you grew up in Australia, didn't you? Yeah. Spent a lot of time in the sun? Yeah. There you go. And I was 53, 54 then. And I was doing that stuff when I was in my 20s, and that's what he said to me. So the stuff you do in your 20s comes back to bite you in your 50s.
Everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation.
Your website is AussieChefCatering.com.
Yes.
And you have an Australian flavour. Do you always try and maintain an Australian flavour in your cooking when you're out cooking?
Whenever I can.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it depends on what the client wants, and the client gets whatever they want.
Because you do very high-end...
If they want butternut squash soup in the middle of August, I'll give them butternut squash soup in the middle of August.
Okay.
Even though it's out of season, it's just travelled 12,000 miles to get them. You know, if that's what they want, that's what they get. Because they're writing the check. But I try and put a little bit of Aussie influence in there whenever I can by using Australian spices, Australian seafood, Australian meat, Australian lamb. Yeah, as often as I can, I try and do that. Secret to healthy eating is basically everything in moderation. Like, and we're so used to having large portion sizes in this country. You go to any fast food restaurant and you ask for a salad and you think you're being healthy, but the size of the salad would feed a family of 4. And you end up taking 40% of it home. And that's just not right. And that contributes to the problem with obesity that exists in this country right now, is those portion sizes. It might surprise you to know that I said 32% of Americans are obese. And America is the #1 country in the world who has an obesity problem. It may surprise you to know, though, that France, and we all think, when we think of France, we think of butter and heavy sauces and all this kind of stuff. France has one of the lowest rates of obesity in the world.
Why is that?
9.4%.
Why? Why is that?
One, they take longer to eat. They don't rush their food down. They take a couple of hours to have their meals. They have a glass of wine with their meal. It's relaxing. It's a fun thing. We here, and I'm guilty of it, I think we all are, I think Gavin's guilty of it.
Fast food.
Fast food, but fast food, even the food you cook yourself, you basically inhale. You don't sit down and enjoy and chew slowly, and, you know, because my wife has been on Weight Watchers since I've known her, and she was 30 pounds heavier when I met her. And she's managed to keep the weight off. She eats very slowly. She chews very slowly. It takes the body 20 minutes to tell the brain that you're full. So if you keep eating quickly, by the time your stomach's caught up with your brain, you're already over full. So if you eat slower, it gives your stomach time to catch up with your brain and tell you, oh, I'm full, I'm going to stop eating now. I would highly recommend that anybody, and I didn't write these books, I'm not being paid by these people, but I own these books, and they're very inexpensive, and I implore people to get yourselves a copy. They're from Men's Health magazine. One is called Eat This, Not That, and it has a whole list of fast food restaurants like Pizza Hut, you know, all the different fast food restaurants that we go to, McDonald's, Burger King, Domino's, Cold-Soaked Creamery, and it tells you what to eat when you go there and what not to eat, and it gives you the calories and the sodium and the fat content. So So this is a very good book to have. And there's a new 2012 updated version that just came out, which I've already ordered. And this one is Cook This, Not That. So it will give you something that is available at a fast food restaurant, and it will show you an alternative that you could cook, which will have sometimes a third of the calories, a third of the fat, and a third of the sodium. There's a dish that I made on Thursday night for my wife, for example, and it was, here we go, it was an alternative to the Cheesecake Factory's grilled pork chops. Now their version of grilled pork chops, 1,928 calories for a serving, 57 grams of fat, and 1,685 milligrams of sodium. Now, a person should not have any more than 2,400 milligrams of sodium in a day. A person should not have, on a 2,000 calorie diet, any more than 66 grams of fat, 20 grams of saturated fat. This is like almost a whole day's worth of food in one meal. So the alternative, I made grilled pork chop with a balsamic honey glaze and some steamed vegetables. Very nice. Have a guess how many calories was in that? Anybody? 300 calories in a serving.
Wow.
19 grams of fat and only 350 milligrams of sodium. Very tasty, filling, fabulous, and really good for you. And this book is full of those kinds of things. Now put your hands up if you cook. Anybody here cook? That's great. 28% of Americans do not cook. Can't be bothered, don't know how, don't even know how to boil an egg.
That's me.
That's scary. Yeah, that's my wife. My wife's one of those, 28%. Yeah.
We could never live together, Nancy. No. We wouldn't eat. We'd be thin, wouldn't we?
Yeah. But if you are going to cook, it's very good to know how to cook healthy food that's also tasteful and filling.